But anyway, Rob, let's get to it. You mentioned it. Bobby Knight, the legendary coach, most notably at Indiana University, passed away. Just broke, a few minutes ago, really. And he was 83 years old. And Rob G, do you have? I mean, I don't know that we can list a few of his accolades, but anybody that's followed college basketball knows that he is legendary and basically known as one of the all-time great college basketball coaches. I lived in Indiana at the time.
No, you coaching. Did really?
Yeah. I lived in
Indianapolis.
You lived
everywhere. That's what I'm just saying. It's unbelievable.
I lived in Indianapolis when he was coaching at IU. That was actually the time when Isaiah Thomas was playing there and led them to the national championship. And I was 6. I believe it was the summer between my 6th and 7th grade years. And I was going to I went to a Bobby Knight basketball camp. Me and about 4 or 5 of my other friends, my brother, we went to Bobby Knight basketball camp. It was great. Stayed on the campus at Indiana, stayed in the dorms. Every night, we'd obviously be playing during the day. And every night we would watch, after dinner, we would watch movie, like some basketball movie, whether it was more like a documentary or something like that about a great team, great player, whatever. And then Bobby Knight would come in and talk about, basketball, about those players and stuff like that. Isaiah came in. It was the summer, I believe, after his freshman year. And he had a great freshman year. And he told us, he gave us a nice little speech about the importance of academics and everything. And he said he was going to stay, and he does take academics seriously. And he would not go early to the NBA because he wanted to graduate. And of course, the next year he led them to the national championship and then went to the NBA. And I can't blame him. But he did go back and get his degree. And Isaiah now is a PhD. And so he's very, I know Isaiah well, and he's very, very much about education. But yeah, that's my personal memory of him. Obviously saw him from afar as a great basketball coach. And there was a lot of controversy surrounding him for sure. But he had a lot of success as it was.
Yeah, I think when I think of Bobby Knight, unfortunately, as great of a coach as he was, the 3 championships and all that, the controversy and the bad stuff is what was the last part of his life and a major part of his story. You can't tell his story, Chris, and gloss over what happened at the end. Like just, he just had one little bump of the head and that was it. And you know what I mean? And you would say 95% good and 5% bad. It was bad stuff that he had to be fired from Indiana.
Well, so let's talk about because at Indiana, he grabbed the kid around the neck. Was that it?
He had touched people before, and that he was told that he couldn't touch, any students.
Right.
And he did it again. You know what I mean? After being warned and basically told.
But he was grabbed. Didn't he grab him?
Around the neck.
I can't remember his name.
I also remember, I don't know if it was during the NCAA tournament, Chris. He had a whip at practice. He was popping a whip. I still remember that.
That's crazy.
I thought that was just like, you couldn't do that today. Like if you had
he couldn't coach. I don't know that he could coach. He would have to totally change his coaching style. I mean, you can be hard on guys. And I don't mind hard coaching. I mean, that's how we grew up, like was coaching, but he went overboard. Like you said, grabbing the kid by his neck. He threw a chair across the court. Game.
Which wouldn't be tolerated today. No. He also had very crass. You remember he said that, I don't know if it was to an official or whatever, or he wanted to be buried with no pants on or something and he would be face down so that they could kiss his butt. Just stuff like that. But really but to me, I'm just saying, like, Like, there's no way, and no one, he had an unbelievable life and career. And I'm just saying, there's no way that if you know anything about the man that you could divorce, Chris, the other stuff. It was just too big. He became very complicated and embroiled in controversy after controversy. He never should have had to leave Indiana. You know what I mean? He never.
Right.
He never should have. But that he had to go to Texas Tech and, in order to coach
now
afterwards.
I don't know if that ended badly. I can't recall all the details. Like I said, this just broke. But something happened there. He didn't finish his season there.
But am I wrong on just saying that the bad parts are big? I mean, it's just hard to ignore.
When you think of Bobby Knight, you think of his greatness as a coach, and like you said, nobody would or could take that away from him. But you definitely, really, second paragraph is we use that as a term of,
right. It might not be in your lead.
Yeah, right,
and it might be like Bobby Knight was one of the all-time great college coaches, Chris, but his second paragraph. But his legacy is not without controversy and conflict.
Right.
That would be the way it was written. And
he got caught, and I'm not trying to excuse him because he was just wrong for some of the stuff. But, again, Rob, when he threw that chair across the court, I mean, it was a story, but he didn't, he obviously didn't get fired or anything like that. That was an era when college coaches, especially if they were successful, could essentially do what they wanted. And he got away with a lot of mess. And the way he talked to, players and things like that. And then, as things changed in society, and then, some of the stuff you see on videotape, right? And it became something you just couldn't stomach.
And the one thing that doesn't matter what era, touching someone else's child was just, you know what I mean? Like that was never going to be cool.
I think back then, and now there's certainly ways you can do it, but I don't know how.
Choking a kid in college.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what got him fired.
That's way, right, at Indiana. But I'm saying, I never saw, I don't think I ever saw a coach hit a kid, or a player at any level. I mean, I saw coaches maybe grab a face mask and drag a kid to this spot on the field where you're supposed to be or something like that. But I never saw a coach hit a kid. But it's controversial. I think it's, it's like we've been talking about great play, whether we really James Harden has sparked that.
Yeah, yesterday, right. Just about his
Harden, right, a Kyrie, a Dennis Rodman. People who have great legacies at what they do, but because things they did off the court or field also were so prominent, you know what I mean? That
it's always a part of your story. Yeah, it just does. And I just wonder, like, when you, Chris, and maybe we'll hear from the listeners, but when you hear his name, I guarantee you most people don't think about the 3 national championships.
Really?
I bet you, yeah, I think that they...
I don't think they know 3, obviously, but I think... let's say this way. You mean they don't think of him as the great basketball coach?
That's not the first thing that they think of. I think
that's a good question.
I think that's not. I'm not saying that they don't know it or they don't know that he was a great coach or it doesn't matter. But I bet you his controversy and what he did and him grabbing a kid and getting fired. Like, I think that's the first thing when you hear Bobby Knight. When you hear that name, Bobby Knight passed away. Oh yeah, that was that old coach who was grabbing kids and
I think that depends on your age. I agree that it would. I agree that the negative will be in there. Like even me, when I saw, oh wow, he died, I thought great coach and controversial. Like, and the things he did were wrong. You know what I mean? A lot of things he did were wrong. I think younger people who really didn't see him, at his apex, probably just think of that old coach that was doing those crazy things.
And Chris, here's
I
a
think
story.
our
real quick.
age and older probably think of the great coach, but yeah, man, controversial too.
Here's a name. This is a story from the New York Daily News. Neil Reed, former Indiana basketball player, who Bobby Knight choked at practice. This guy died at 36. Not from that, but I'm just saying.
What did he die from?
He was 36 years old. I'm looking at.
Yeah, I actually remember.
You remember that?
Believe
story?
it or not, yeah. And in a rec league in New York, when I was at the New York Times, I actually played with him.
Did you
For
really?
some reason, he was up there. Yeah, he was up.
It
at
said he had some
Basketball
sort
City.
of Chris. I just saw like briefly before the paywall came up. He had some trouble breathing in the morning, and then went into cardiac arrest.
Wow.
And couldn't be resuscitated. But he was 36 years old when he died. But he was choked by Bobby Knight at practice.
Yeah.
So there's one of those incidents.